operating on a frequency of 52 megacycles by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. A test program follows.
For you who've been trained technically, I need hardly say that there's still a number of problems to solve. I guess you know them as well as anybody knows. But I think we've proceeded far enough to justify the statement, at least, that these technical problems are not insurmountable.
Wizard, also known as All for One Gaming. Hi Brett, how's it going, man? We can't hear you. Awesome.
I thought you were muted for a little bit.
Not knowingly. Did you not hear my intro?
No, they didn't.
Okay,
no,
so welcome, hello everyone. Welcome to the 15th of December's KOTE show for round of 5. This is your weekly dose of what's happening in KOTE and a few other things Keyforge related. Brett, how have you been?
I'm just fixing my horn. It's bent.
Great man, the priorities man. You do look absolutely shattered.
I'm not a narwhal, Dan. I am the unicorn wizard.
No, he's a narwhal wizard. Well, he's a narwhal carry player cosplay, but yeah.
My toddler decided to take the unicorn horn off his outfit and put it on my headset, so I'm having that. My week's been okay. Dropped the wife off at the airport yesterday. She's off in the Netherlands, so it's just me and the little boy for a few days.
So I have one important question I feel I have to ask you, Brett, that can't wait any longer.
What's that?
When am I getting my decks?
You mean these?
And the other ones. So I've got Brett's currently in possession of 2.5 decks, bricks of decks for me. We don't know if I'm going to open them. We're going to use them. Might use them for coats. We got them at a brilliant price thanks to some contacts abroad, shall we say? If it wasn't Christmas, it would help. We would have got more. But so some of these may go as giveaways. Some of these I may open. Some of these we may. We got all these ideas. Some of them I may just keep them all because at the end of the day I'm paying for them and see how we feel.
Speaking of giveaway, we have got. I have personally paid for a nice giveaway item that I'll go into when it actually arrives.
Yeah, but they look awesome, man. I'm very, very jealous. I can't wait to get them in your hand.
We did have 5 boxes, but I've already opened one of mine. And if anyone knows anyone called Abigail who plays, I've got a deck with Abigail in it.
Ah, awesome. Well, we'll put that shout out. So, should be a shorter session this week because our games aren't quite as long. We have
the first instance of a mirror match where we have 2 decks. Well, not a mirror match as in usual, but a mirror match as in we have 2 players having the exact same matchup.
Yep. So just to be clear, the London Urchins who will be showing you 2 of their games had the same, where they had the same decks and the opponents had the same decks, because that's how the cookie crumbled for round 4. But let's move on to the news. Do you want to go through the KPL results?
Yes. So,
do you want to say what the KPL is for the 3 people out there who don't know?
So the Keyforge Premier League had their finals over the weekend. It was a long stream for Big Z, Carl, and Jupiter. We had Damat and Kiwi going against for the final. It was a hell of a game. Both players.
Yes. Yep. Normally carry on. I'm just being an idiot.
Yeah. Kiwi is the over, but it was it was a long one. I sent Jupiter a meme that literally the next day it was just like, can one of you lose so we can just go home? But it was one hell of a game, and both players played absolutely beautifully. It was Vincent Martin of the Hamburg Luncheons, who have 3 teams in KOTE, taking on Damat of the Autocannons, who is one of the teams that's featured in today's stream.
By chance.
Playing beautifully for the games. And Ugluk of Sanctimonious and Firesat fought it out for third and fifth. So both did really well. Vincent took home $300 on the title. Damat took home $200, and Ogok managed to get third. So, beautiful game, and season 2 starts relatively soon. They've got the qualifiers are starting on the 16th.
I'm not sure they've been announced yet, have they?
Interviews have already started going out. Invites have already started going out after the charity event. On the 9th of January, KPL have got their next single adaptive Keyforge, and going on for and top 4 players from that are going to get invites in, and then then the qualifiers start on the 16th, I believe. And Big Z has said that if they can get over 108, I think if they can get over 128 participants for this one, they will increase the prize pool payout to the top 16.
Makes sense. Well, good luck to them. I mean, it's amazing what they've managed to pull together so far, and I look forward to going there, and we'll be supporting them through this show. And I'd like to hope we can get more when season 2 starts. Do more feedback on KPL on this show as well to try and tie the whole thing together. But so we're still in discussions with the KPL guys about if that's the right thing to do and how to do it. And when I say we're still in discussions, I asked the question 3 months ago and I can't remember what came back. So we'll talk about it. But Jupiter promises more announcements are going to be coming any day now.
Yeah, so definitely keep all the KPL stuff sort of goes straight out onto their YouTube. So do keep an eye out on the KPL YouTube, because the quick videos will drop basically updating. And while you're on YouTube, do drop onto the KOTE YouTube as well, because we drop games and all the stuff that's in the stream more cut up onto that, as well as other games that we've recorded throughout the course of the week.
Yeah, and by we mean Brett does all that, and he does all the work. So Brett, thanks as ever for all the hard work you put in here.
I mean, I put all the work into the editing, but all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes for the directory results, that's down to you and Simon.
It's not that, yeah, but it doesn't take us long. But moving on. Josie says thank you for the donations she's had. We managed to chuck together another $30, I think it was, from various donations last week to help her get through the current troubling times. I'm not going to dig into that. Just our graphic designer is out. Unfortunately, she's lost her work. She's doing all our KOTE art for free, and is having to sort of fund herself through COVID testing and all of that. So the test came back. She doesn't have COVID, which is great. But it is. But thank you for everyone who donated a few bits and pieces of cash there. That was really appreciated by her. Now, oh yeah, and Josie's also going to start selling things with the KOTE logo on. She's run this by me and Brett, and the rule we have is she still owns all the KOTE artwork and logos she does. So any of the bespoke drawings, any of the graphical design that she's done, as far as we are concerned, she's allowed to go and do whatever she wants with that. But we can use it for free for any of the stuff we're doing, unless we're trying to make money out of it. So we've had a discussion. So if you see stuff with the KOTE logo out there for sale on Etsy or any of the other sites with smaller manufacturers and stuff, don't worry. Just let us know so we can promote it in case.
But unless it's not under Josie's name, then let us know so we can flag it.
Or even if you're not sure, let us know and we'll check, because we want to make sure Josie gets the credit and the revenue stream she deserves from all the hard work she's done here. I mean, it's unbelievable what she's pulled together for us.
Exactly.
Right, moving on. Now we get to the fun. So we've got 3 points of order we want to discuss this week, and we're going to follow this in the order I've listed in our cliff notes. This week we've had drama, and I wanted to do a good drama splash screen, but I didn't. I forgot. But
we need a tea like being poured transition.
Yeah,
because we're spilling the tea.
I hate that term. Such an American term.
It's not an American term. It's literally a British term where we because we gossip whilst drinking tea. You cannot get more British than that.
But the fact of using it on a YouTube channel when you don't have a drink is an American fight. But anyway, moving on. There is a question that if someone makes a mistake in a game, we've always said that if the opponent agrees, they can have a take back. Now, just because we want to be open and friendly, but the key thing here is the opponent has to agree, and it's that simple. If your opponent doesn't agree, they are not cheating, they are not they are not being against it, especially towards the top tier matches. That is well within their rights.
Yeah, and that's also reflected within the rules, where it says in the rules that if you make a genuine mistake, both players must agree, because your opponent may have cause to believe it's not a genuine mistake and does not want to feel disadvantaged by giving you extra options.
Yes. And we've had one instance of that this week. It happens. Passionate players, top tier games, we move on. But that's all we want to just bring that up to remind people. It is not mandatory. Exactly. The second one is coaching. We cannot police this, but we frown upon, which means you can ignore this completely, coaching, and we expect teams not to be coaching their players as they play. We expect everyone to be playing by themselves, not with on a screen share or with other people watching them and advising them. We expect this to be literally one player. We
understand that in IRL team events that a captain can coach their teammates once their game is over, but this is completely different. This is not the same sort of setup. We don't want 3 against 1 games. A lot of people are playing this for fun. They're playing this to test out decks. We want this to be a fun experience for everyone. So, like Chris said, it's impossible for us to police this unless we were physically watching your screens while you played. All we can do is hope that people abide by it and play the games themselves.
Yep. And finally, for the 3rd week in a row, politeness. Trying to think of another way of saying this, unlike we did the last 2 weeks. Please be respectful to your opponents. That is all.
Okay. We'll do this the exact same way that we would do, most kids were taught in school. Treat your fellow players as how you want to be treated yourself.
That can often backfire. I like being called an arsehole, so no.
What you and the missus get up to has nothing to do here.
I know. That's why anyway, moving on. That's a different stream. But the point is, this is the 3rd week in a row we had one incident of rudeness. Every week it's been for a different reason. Every week's a different circumstances. And we know people aren't going out there deliberately to be dicks, and this case was purely the passion and frustration got to them. Yeah. And we haven't given an official warning, and it was touch and go why. And I think we decided against it because... I don't know actually why we decided against it. Because it wasn't so much reported. We found out through other means. But the key thing here is just be polite, be inclusive. Don't start calling people's names, though this was, as things go, this could have been a lot worse, but it's the principles at stake here. Is
if you're upset,
don't be an arsehole.
Yeah, if you're upset, take it to your team, take it to a place, but don't take it out on your opponent. And I think your Discord's starting to encroach a little bit on my cam.
Yeah, it always was. I just haven't moved it slightly. In a minute, it'll be fine. Right. And finally, I want to say hi to Kiwi, who is watching and just waved from the side. That's the gentleman who won overall, wasn't it?
That is the reigning KFPL champion.
I think Jupiter's very clear it's KFPL because there's a terrorist group called the KPL or something like that. Or I've been told it, maybe Freedom Fighters. There's another group called KPL, so it's KFPL he was quite keen to stick to, but awesome.
Jupiter's just complimenting my Christmas attire and my unicorn horn.
It is an amazing horn. What else can you say? So we're going to move on now. There's a couple of things about KOTE8. KOTE8 is still in the works. We're planning ahead for this. We have another ambitious aim. I have no idea how this is going to work, but we'll see.
This is going to be this is probably our most ambitious one yet. And given KOTE7, that's saying a lot.
Yeah, every time we do something more ambitious, and you guys embrace it. One thing, and we're trying to take the feedback that Jupiter's given us. We fight with decks, not guns. No, you play the game with guns, not decks, but you have to call your house up front. You have a deck of guns.
Basically, what we did is we went to the Discord, went to the Facebook, and we asked your feedback. We asked what you were looking for in an event, and we got a lot of feedback. We got a lot of suggested ideas, and we're going to try and work on some of the. We're going to try and work on some of the ones for future events. But the main feedback we got for some of it is what's going to go into KOTE 8, and those who are on. We said that it wouldn't give everyone too much of an advantage, but those who are on Patreon will get an update as to what KOTE 8 is in its entirety tomorrow. There has been a little bit of a teaser on Patreon already. Dan's now furiously logging into Patreon to check out what it was.
And if you don't subscribe to our Patreon, I think just to slip Dan a $5 and he'll show you happily. But we'll take it.
This is true. You could probably bribe Dan into telling you what it is.
Which is not particularly hard because. No. But I say it's evolving still. It's not rock solid. We expect
if you go follow Dan on Twitch when he's streaming tomorrow, just ask him about it and he'll probably tell you all about it.
Or said he's looked and doesn't care and he's not going to play ever again. He's hated it. No, I don't think that'd be true because Dan's been great for the feedback. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still evolving. This round 5 for coach is a 2-week round. Yes. I hear you all go, why are we having a 2-week round? I say, because Christmas and my wife's birthday are in this 2 weeks. And I need the time. So
I'm going to be burnt out after a week of pure child madness and being alone by myself.
You're never truly alone, man. We're always here if you need it, the Coke family. But the aim here is we're not going to have a stream next Tuesday. We were looking at running the Keyforge roleplay event, but because take-up has been slow and Brett's other commitments, we've decided to put that on ice till next year. We definitely want to do something, and we had a lot of people interested. We just could not get... It's Christmas, and that got in the way for a lot of people signing up. And so we are going to look at doing something in the new year. Maybe start with just a small number and grow from there. But Brett's got an awesome number of ideas. So I'm interested to see.
The Keyforge RPG is definitely something we want to try and get going a little bit more reliably next year, either as a one-shot charity event or getting the community involved and running a sort of adventure. And if that's something people would be interested in, please do let us know. We want to embrace all aspects of Keyforge, and Chris has already mentioned that if we can get copies of the Keyforge Extended Universe books, we'll do a book club as well.
Yes, we can read. So that's going to be so that's something else we're going to try. We're just trying to do anything around the Keyforge space. If people have an opinion or just want to give a 3-liner review of it's not school here, you don't have to do a full review. Just it's rubbish, don't read it, or it's amazing, read it now. I'm more than happy to take stuff like that forward. So anyway, 22nd, so we will have no stream or anything next Tuesday. Then the following week, the 29th, we will have the playoff stream. We are debating this. And when I say we are debating this, as I meant to debate this with Brett earlier, but I forgot to debate it with him. Do we have a 2-week window over New Year, or do we just have 1 week going up to the 3rd of January? If you have an opinion, please let us know sooner. I'm probably going to position it for 1 week now, just so we can keep things moving. And then we go into the playoffs, and then we head to the multiple cuts, the seeded cuts approach after that, same as we did for KOTE7. If you'd like to drop from the event after the group stages, that's absolutely fine. Just let us know. If you don't want to drop, want to keep playing, that's also absolutely fine. Don't let us know. We'll assume you're playing otherwise. But that's sort of we have coming up, and we're going to be publishing on Discord probably this week the dates for how Brett and I think everything's going to go on, including the formalising the dates for KOTE 8. Which I want to get out sooner, and then we're going to start hopefully either the 29th or the 6th. We will advertise KOTE 8 in its entirety, depending how ready we are on the 29th. And
it'll be the first week of the top cut, so it'll either be the 5th or the 12th, depending on when we do it.
5th or 12th, depending if it's 1 week or 2. And realistically, we're starting in early February. To see where we're going.
If we start on the 5th, so look 16, 8, 4, 2,
64, 17, 22 and a half,
26. So it'll either be around. It'll be the last week of January or the first week of February.
Yeah.
So a nice build up for Dark Tidings.
Sounds good. And Tidings though will be released after we start KOTE 8. With the format we're looking at, and assuming TCO keeps up and is able to implement it in time, you will be able to. There are going to be ways of using Dark Tiding decks in KOTE 8 if you so wish.
Exactly.
Without giving too much away. And also the group stages will be longer for KOTE 8 following.
Yes, so this is something Chris is quite passionate about. We're going to be moving from Swiss to round robin in the. We've had a lot of feedback about buys and a few people getting a little bit annoyed that they might be knocked out of the running for the top cut because other teams had buys in early rounds. In a round robin, that's not an issue.
Yep, and that's what we're looking at now. We'll say this is still open for debate, but I think this will solve all of it. But we would aim to have the group stages to be 7 or 8 weeks. I don't expect we'll have more than 9.
It might cause more international groups, but it will make the event a lot fairer.
To be clear, it all depends on how many sign up. I mean, if we have 6 people sign up, it will definitely be round robin. If we have 700 people sign up, I don't have enough time to run the event. But yeah, we'll sort something out. We'll make it work.
If we have 700 people sign up, that's what, 2,100 people.
Oh God, I have a nightmare.
That would be how many decks? Jesus.
6 million.
No,
for
that's too much maths. That's too much maths.
But Beggar Switch will love reviewing those. And finally, we are working on KOTE Directory 2.0. It's intended to look exactly the same as KOTE Directory 1, but we're changing a number of things under the covers to make it more usable, more mobile friendly because of a little bit of... Hi, not tonight. Great to see you here again. It's been too long, it feels. Though you were probably here last week. The last week really has gone slowly. Right, because we're rambling now and we have a little bit more time, let's move on to the metrics from Baguette and Switch. And have I just screwed up?
Well, luckily today's stream's a lot shorter, so we can waffle a little bit without affecting it too much.
That is true. That is true. Right.
But
so
not tonight. Yeah, skip last week, but not tonight's been very busy with university coursework and whatnot.
Fair enough. What's she studying? Can we ask that?
That's up to them.
Oh, okay. I'm always nosy about who's in our family here.
We've got a question for KOTE7 R4 still survival. No. So this is something that was brought up today in questioning as well. After the top cut, after the Swiss, each team will pick a deck. Each player will pick a deck from their remaining pool. They cannot
personal pool, not team pool.
Yeah, from their personal pool. So let's start again. After this week, after round 5, each player will pick a deck from their personal pool that they have remaining from survival. They cannot pick the same deck as somebody else in their pool, in their team, unless it cannot be avoided. So if all 3 players only have 1 deck left and that deck's the exact same deck, they can carry on playing all using the same deck. But the top cut should all be different decks.
Across the
in the qualifier and in the top cut, those are your decks. It's like the old school survival Vault Tours. It's like the new survival Vault Tours that America started doing before COVID, where you play survival and then once the Swiss is over, you select a deck from your remaining pools and that's what you take forward into the cutoff.
Great. So moving forward the metrics here. So this again has been done by Liptops from Baguette and Chips or Baguette and Switch in France. Another awesome set of slides. I have actually corrected a spelling mistake, which I feel very hypocritical doing. But what we'll see today here is the metrics of decks winning games and decks losing games. We're ignoring buys in this. Each round is 108 winners and 108 losers. So just realise that. This tournament is big enough that we have 108 games played every week. Which to me is... I knew this was true, and this still terrified me.
Yeah. For those who do have a buy, if you want to wind up the people in your group, I have made buy and now an official team role because we had the buy last round and I wanted to wind up Chris.
I didn't even notice you winding me up. I just thought it was hilarious. But yeah, my decks, but bonus. Some decks are duplicates, so they are played multiple times because some teams may have multiple people playing the same deck at this point, and also some decks simply have not yet been played in the overall looking.
Exactly.
So
Big Z has not dropped Galaxy yet. All 3 players of his team have still got access to Galaxy.
That's terrifying.
It is. So a terrifying deck.
So here we can see that the main difference between the winners and the losers here is the winners has 3% more raw amber, which works out as 0.4 amber. So this is not a huge difference, but it is worth noting that all the decks follow very similar makeup. Also, which isn't too surprising to me, and I hope we've got this right because we had to fix this the right way, is more of the winner decks have artifacts than the losers, but again, it's not a massive difference. It's 1.4 to 1.3. So the average is still very close, and there are slightly more creatures in the losing decks. So we're going to see, I imagine, more of the Worlds Collide decks doing less well because they seem to be more creature heavy. But anything else you take out from this?
If you follow TCO on a regular basis, like I'm pretty much on that every single day, you will find that the creature heavy meta is what's currently in play. People are playing a lot more creature heavy decks because the enhancements make it a lot better, and Mass Mutation's got some amazing creatures, and that's the most current set.
But saying that, we have less. The decks that are winning have slightly less creatures. Which is interesting.
Which is really weird, given that Mass Mutation makes up a good section of what we've got in here.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised by the artifacts situation, given you've got ridiculous amounts in there. And as Dan's pointed out, the upgrades sort of shocked me. There's some amazing upgrades out there, and we've seen some new ones coming in. It's just going to be quite interesting to see how it progresses into the Top Cup.
Yeah.
My camera's apparently frozen.
I wonder if it's this.
Oh, no, it's on my side.
Oh, let's change. Yeah, it is on your side. I can't even see you breathing. Well, while you fix that, let me continue talking. So, if we then look at the SAS breakdown, the winning decks are averaging 80.3, so we can see lots of powerful decks there. But even the losing decks are only 78.6. So, I mean, 78.6 is still nothing to sniff at. This is still a pretty damn high deck. And obviously, we see the ARC, as expected, higher for the winners than the losers. But the only interesting here for me, really, was the disruption ability. The 20% jump for disruption. Now, we always know disruption heavy decks are generally favoured quite well, but that's a significantly increase from 3.6 to 4.4 in disruption over the value of the decks. I see posters.
See posters?
Yeah. Cool. I can't see you.
No, I was just checking against my posters.
And obviously, because we saw the increased artifacts before, we are seeing more artifact control, which is being beneficial here. But it's still only at 1.2 to the artifacts being 1.7. So, jumping on house performances. Now, this is what really surprises me. Firstly, and I'm going to start with the most important house, Brugner. Stop harassing my decks.
No, your decks are underneath my decks.
Stop squashing my decks. So Brogner, 60 games were played where at least one house was Brogner, and they had a pure down the middle split 30-30, which I find fascinating, because that I would put money on that never happening, that we have a simple split down the middle no matter the number of houses, as soon as we beat more than 5 or 6 houses, or 6 or 8 houses. But also then we see Untamed being at 53.2 and Star Alliance being 53.7%. So you can see it's all close. There's not one massively runaway house. Yes, Mars and Saurian are you're significantly more likely to lose if you have Mars or Saurian. And of course you'll never see those two houses together, which is also interesting. But in terms of the winners, nothing goes really above 53.7. So yes, Star Alliance and Untamed are the highest there, but most people use those as a secondary house, and at least in my experience, Brad, and I know you will challenge this to a degree, outside of KOTE, Untamed is always picked as a secondary house pick. It's rarely aimed to be the strongest house.
Yeah, your AOA Untamed is definitely the weakest of the 4. It's got some good cards in there, but it's it's a lot like Worlds Collide Brobnar. You need all the right cards in all the right order. Your Worlds Collide, I hate Worlds Collide Untamed. Some people swear by it, and
I do.
But Mass Mutation Untamed is not too bad. It's definitely come back quite a bit, but KOTE Untamed is definitely the pinnacle of what they've had in terms of speed and power. But as Dan points out, Mars and Saurian are very situational, and if your opponent can control the board, Saurians lose a lot of their value.
And I'd say same for Mars, actually, to be honest. I mean, Mars are easy to control the board of as well, but on the whole, the majority of the Mars requires some ball presence. Not all of it, but a lot of it does.
No, but then you also got decks like what the Hamburg Atlanteans run, where they can come back with just pure Mars by themselves, as we saw on stream.
That is true. That is true. So look at the expansion win rates. This isn't I don't think going to be too surprising to anyone after everything we've said. It's Call of the Archons has a 56% chance of winning. Not surprised by this in the slightest. 162 of them have won versus 127 losses.
The Worlds Collide did shock me a little bit. AOA, not so much. A lot of the AOA decks that have been brought are probably going to be combo decks and very reliant on getting the right cards in the right order. But the Worlds Collide being at 46%, I thought it'd be a bit higher.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it'd be closer to 50, but I didn't expect Call of the Archons to be that much higher. I thought that'd be closer to like 52.
I don't know if they're gonna go that deep, Dan. Dan's talking about individual house sasses for the event, because each house has its own sass.
We'll ask Begin and Switch what they would like to do. Well, they'll be watching this video tomorrow, so we'll see. He might be trying to do that. I know he got us this deck really late last night because he was spending so much time getting the stuff ready. But look at this also. I would have expected Mass Mutation to be lower as well. Not massively low. I think it's 48, 49, because I thought there's not as many decks out there, and I thought they'd be easier to find more high quality.
There's not as many decks out there, but there's also not as many ways to handle Mass Mutation in the other houses. There are a very unknown factor with the placement of enhancements, and as we saw with the amount of artifacts brought here, you've got Auto Encoder, which is a brilliant artifact. You've got the gigantic creatures as well being brought in. Mass Mutation has a lot of hats and a lot of things that it can do. I'm not surprised by the win rate of Mass Mutation all here.
No. All right, let's. So what about the survivors? What decks are not being played yet? The Metro survivors are also very close to the average, which is not too surprising. The remaining decks that have yet to be played are slightly higher SAS, but at 0.5%, that's within the margin of error. But they have a lot more disruption. And it's going to be interesting to see how many of the fifth decks are people going to choose to take in, or how many are going to be forced to take in. And I'm thinking the decks which are looking forward to looking at those stats of what do people actually take to the top cut.
I'm going to be very interested to see what if they do stats on the decks that were chosen against the decks that weren't chosen.
Definitely, that would be interesting. So we move on to this week's quiz now. Because the power of a Twitch is not working this week, we're not going to use a poll. We're not going to use a quiz tool. And Brett and I will try and find time over the next 2 weeks to work out how to make the quiz tool work again. That stopped working. So we're going to all do this.
The quiz kit was really good. We just couldn't get it going.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this out, and I can't see.
Me too. Not tonight. I do love going into the metadata of the event as it's going on. It's something that we've been trying to do, and luckily Baguette and Switch were happy enough to do it.
Yes.
We're really grateful to Can't Touch This for their weekly deck breakdowns. It also really helps.
Yes, so we look forward to seeing you doing it again too. Not tonight. We have missed you the last few weeks with the other team members doing it all. So hopefully we'll see you there in the future if your university allows.
Dan, Snap jumping to Deus Ilias coming in as the most won deck, and Not Tonight coming in with Graviton.
Okay, anyone else? Do you want to jump in? Which is the most won gigantic? Who won the most? Ultra Graviton, Desalius, and Niflcon.
Dan, I get that. It's the strongest over time because it captures all the amber and it starts to get rid of it. But there's still Guilty Hearts in this set. Word of Returning came back in this set. There's a lot of board control. You've got Gizzleheart's Wrath, which destroys all mutants, which you get rid of it. Ultra Graviton is a lot faster with the archiving capability.
So let's see what the answer is then. Unsurprisingly, 50, but it's still only 58%. I mean,
it is.
Ultra Graviton did 29%, which is pretty low, but it's not a sure thing or anything like that.
I have nothing but Ultra Gravitons. I traded one of my Ultra Graviton decks away. I need to get the other two.
I've got a spare Zalius actually, so we can happily swap because I lost my Ultra Graviton deck somewhere in my house. Let me dig them out when I go through my Mass Mutation.
Right.
So, okay, which is the best leader? Zenzik, or Val Jericho, or Shadow Council, or El Despair?
I know this is a magic turn, but the best cards are the ones that have the three best words that you can have in any card game. Draw a card. For me, Zenzik will always be the best turn one play against any of the other ones because it just immediately goes draw 2 cards.
Or win this game is another good card.
Yeah, but Val Jericho, Shadow Council, El Despair. Val Jericho does get immediate value, but they're still a lot more. They have much higher threats than Zenzik because they do a lot more each turn, whereas Zenzik only affects you at the end of the turn. I'd much rather kill a Val Jericho, a Shadow Council, and an El Despair than a Zenzik if all 4 are on the board.
But if all 4 on the board, only one of them's going to be useful a turn anyway, so... But yeah, your point is sound. So, do we have any answers from the audience?
We've got Val Jericho from Not Tonight. We've got Jupiter coming in with Val Jericho. Everyone's saying it seems to be consensus that Val Jericho is the best leader.
And the answer is Jericho, unsurprisingly, or Val Jericho, as we give her full title. But 72.4% of the time, if Jericho is there, the deck wins. That's unbelievable. And at the same time, Zenzik is at 35% win rate, which is... I mean, I'm happy to see, yeah, Jericho, I can see that, but I would have thought Zenzik would be higher.
Depends on the rest of the deck. I'm a little bit biased because my the KPL charity event deck I had has 2 daughters in a Zenzik, and it did really well against some people that are playing in the KOTE event. So I'm a little bit biased towards that. But yeah, Not Tonight also backing up saying that the Zenzik being the lowest is the most surprising because I would have thought Shadow Council. It's also interesting that they left off the new leader.
Which is the new leader?
Well, they've left off the Mad Prophet, which is the leader of Sanctum. They've left off Saurus, which is the leader from Saurian.
Maybe
they might have forgotten about them.
Quite likely. Right, finally, who's better, the mother or the daughter?
Well, like mother, like daughter.
Or like daughter, like mother.
Dan's coming in with daughter, but Jupiter's coming in with mother. Mothers are much harder to get rid of. Although daughter has elusive, mother's a much bigger target, and there's not many cards in Keyforge that say do 5 damage.
But also, daughter is in more sets, so just when we got strength in numbers, whereas mother's only in COTA, is it not?
Yeah, but you got it. That's true, but I've Dan draw a card. They both say draw a card. That's how they both work. But daughter's a lot more vulnerable.
Daughter is transient, mother is persistent, is how I look at it. Daughter we don't expect to be around long. Mother we expect to be around longer.
So when they say which is better, they mean basically the question's asking which of these 2 cards is in the decks that have won the most. It's a bit of a misleading question, Jupiter, because Jupiter's like which is better, not based on the stats, but basically asking
results.
Yeah, it's basically asking in the decks they're in, have the decks done better. So the question's not been worded well, but they're French. English isn't their first language.
And to be fair, their English is a hell of a lot better than our French. So, well, mine at least. I don't know. Brett may secretly be a native speaker.
No.
So, as we can see, there's 128 mothers in the tournament, 128 decks with mothers in, and they won 60% of the time. And there's 193 daughters, and I thought there'd be a lot more daughters than mothers proportionally than there are. But daughter only won 45%, so it's clear here to say that.
Well, look at it this way: a mother can have multiple daughters, but a daughter can only have one mother.
That's not legally true. But moving on. Those we love to hate: Ronnie, Edai, Dust Pixie, or Infernus. Which one of these was the most successful? Or which decks of the deck? Which had these more decks won where they existed than lost? I see why they struggle to write the question because I'm struggling to say the question.
Yeah.
So anything from the audience chat? Has Dan jumped in with anything yet? I can't see the chat while I do this.
Jupiter's jumping in with saying that Dust Pixie is definitely the most hated.
Ah, yes.
But I've got to come in. I've probably got to come in. I've got to say Infernus. Infernus with Exhume, with Hysteria,
Arise.
with Snudge can do a lot more damage. We know there's a load of E-Dies floating around here, but it requires them to survive. Ronnie's have a lot of impact. Dust Pixies have a lot of impact, but Infernus is counter Dust Pixies. And I'm a disc boy anyway, so I'm going to go with Infernus. But we're getting Jupiter with Dust Pixie, Not Tonight with Dust Pixie, and Dan frantically trying to figure out which one.
So Dan, you've got a couple of seconds until we move on. Any quick last guesses, Dan, or anyone else watching the stream?
Not Tonight saying that Infernus was the worst across all recent tournaments. Yeah, and as we saw on in the KPL event on Sunday, Infernus purged a good portion of a deck thanks to having 3 of them and a lot of ways to keep replaying them.
Yeah. So I'm going to move on now. Then the answer is Dust Pixie, which shouldn't be too surprising to anyone, at 61%. But if you look, there's only 195 Dust Pixies. I actually thought there would be more. But if we look at Infernuses, there's 271 decks with Infernus.
I mean, I can't really say anything across the 3 decks that have been of mine that have been played from KOTE. I think there's 7 Dust Pixies.
Yeah, that sounds like that's
Something
quite
like
right for your standards. Yeah, and then E-Die 42.5%. It's E-Die when it works well. It works well. When it works badly, it's a waste of a card. And Ronnie, I thought would be higher, but Ronnie's does not a game changer by itself. So Ronnie, it all depends what he's paired with.
There's a lot of steel hate in Mass Mutation, so
Yeah,
I can kind of
definitely.
understand that.
And even Wilds Collide has a reasonable amount, not as much as Mass Mutation, but. So next, when stealing is everything, is too much to protect better than interdimensional graph? Now let's point out here, interdimensional graph isn't technically a theft.
No,
It's a give. But
yeah, it's worded in a way same as the Sting. It's not a theft. It's basically a tax.
Yes, that's the right way to look at it. So with stealing is everything, or tax, is too much protect better than interdimensional graph. For have more decks that have more decks won than lost for TMTP versus interdimensional graft.
Oh.
I'm gonna say
TMTP.
The graft actually.
This is a really tough one because I'm gonna have to go with TMTP same as Not Tonight, mainly because graft allows your opponent to forge, so a late graft is not as good as a late TMTP. If you've got a TMTP and a Ronnie, a Skeleton Key, a Nerve Blast, a Relentless Whispers, any of the any creature or any action or any artifact that lets you steal or capture, you immediately take that. But you immediately take that off.
Or Miasma for anything that will delay the forge.
Miasma to help set it up, and even if your opponent's on 6 and you Miasma, and you've got TMTP in the deck, they are more likely to just not reap and not try and go above 6 if you have a TMTP than they have with a graft. A graft is a lot less threatening than a TMTP.
So the answer is, as you've rightly said, TMTP, but it's only 51.5%.
Close. If there was more AOA in the event, I'd go towards the Brig, but that's sort of what swung me.
But what I would love to see is what this is per set. Obviously, COTA being much more too much to protect than interdimensional graft because of the way those decks seem to be set up. But it's still interesting. And there's
especially seeing as both graft and too much to protect weren't featured in Mass Mutation.
Yeah. Though I think I've got a legacy TMTP in Mass Mutation. It's a shite deck, so don't look at it. And then interdimensional graft. Again, then let's be clear, these are so close. 49.2 versus 51.5. I'd say within the margin of error almost. I consider the margin of error 1% because I'm not a statistician, but if it's anything that's less than 1%, I'm going to immediately discount it. Feel free to educate me on stats as needed. And the final question for this week is, and for killing stuff, which is more common in the winning deck, so which is more likely to be in a winning deck? Positron Bolt, Lights Out, or Nature's Call?
Well, Lights Out and Nature's Call don't really kill.
Yeah, okay, removing stuff from play.
So Jupiter's gone straight in with the Lights Out, but I'm gonna go with Nature's Call, and so's not tonight, as I say it, because of the Dust Pixie ratio.
That's a fair answer.
Because
Right,
Positron Bolt and Lights Out are more geared towards dealing with opponent's creatures, whereas Nature's Call is a very utilizing card for KOTE to use to basically win.
Yeah.
As we saw in last week's game, if it hadn't been for a bit of a misplay, around Boss Eric, then we would have seen a 2-key turn off Nature's Call and Chilter.
Yeah, that's true.
Jupiter's arguing that Shadows is pretty common, but I'm going to argue that Untamed had the highest win rate when we looked at the stats of that earlier.
So let's have a look. Positron Bolts, you're both wrong.
Oh!
And I didn't see that coming up. I was going to agree with Nature's Call.
Mr. Andrew Con came in with Bolt at the last second.
Reading the future. So yeah, 98 to wins to 55, 64.1%, and Nature's Call again, just ahead of Lights Out. I think you made a number of good reasons there, and there is definitely more. Both of them are more common than Lights Out, but Positive Boat's only slightly more common than Lights Out.
Yeah.
So that's it for the stats today. Thank you as ever for Baguette and Switch, for all the hard work producing this. Nathan for Dex Keyforge and essentially being the source of all knowledge, and everyone else here for playing the event, watching and joining in. If there's any particular stats you'd like to see, please reach out to us and just say it on this video. I do know the Baguette and Chips guys watch this video after the fact, but it's always great to see. It's great to have them involved. Second is, where's my OBS? Cool, my screen change worked. So we are going to come on to the recorded games now. Now this is London Urchins versus Italian Autocannons this week.
Yep.
We own, as we said before, there's one deck that is played twice.
No, there's two decks.
One deck pair that's played twice.
So the first and second game will only have commentary from Can't Touch This once because the matchup is the exact same. There's also not too many pre or post game interviews this time. It's been quite a hectic week, and OBS messed up a little bit for me for the red game, so I've not got anything for the Reds. But so the captain's game, then the blue game, then the red game, and we got the brilliant team of Can't Touch This doing the breakdown, and we've got some very interesting decks and some very interesting ways that we're going to see this go down.
Awesome. Right. Well,